Second by Commissioner Gamache. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Brastad.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
And that item passes, and the record will show that Commissioner Reinert has now arrived and is with us. Next, we'll move on to item 5. Consider accepting the regular claims paid over $500 and purchase card claims paid for the period ending March 26th of 2021. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Meisner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Look. Is there further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
Commissioner Brastad.
Aye.
And that item passes. Next, we will look for approval of the minutes from March 23rd, 2021, County Board meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Look and a second by Commissioner Brastad. Are there any corrections or changes to the minutes as presented? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Those minutes are adopted. Next, we will move into chair's remarks. And before we start our chair's remarks today, we have a new employee at the county in our Economic Development Division. And I would love if Sarah could come forward and introduce herself to the county board and let us know who she is.
Great, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the County Board. I'd like to take this brief opportunity to introduce myself as Samantha Markman. As you're all aware, I have been named the new Economic Development Director for Anoka County. This is officially business day number 7 at Anoka County here, so I'm really excited about the opportunity to serve in this capacity. I think it's a very exciting time for Anoka County. There's been significant momentum around the economic development initiatives, and I'm looking forward to building upon those and really kind of taking this to the next level. My background is in economic development, previously having served as economic development coordinator for the city of Faribault. I did have a variety of opportunities to participate in some large-scale development projects and look forward to bringing that experience here to Anoka County. We will serve our first executive committee meeting this afternoon, and so I look forward to jumping right into conducting business here in the economic development field and look forward to all things ahead. So thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you, Samantha. I look forward to working with you this afternoon, and I will not call you Sarah at that meeting. Well, thank you again for being here. Our first item under Chair's remarks today, we're going to take some time to recognize the profound work of our county's public health department over the last year plus. Everyone on some level has been affected by this pandemic, but there are those among us who have been tasked with bearing a larger burden during this time, and that has been the case with public health. April 5th through the 11th was National Public Health Week, so it's certainly an appropriate time to honor our public health professionals. At this time, I'm going to call on Commissioner Reinert, Chair of our county's Human Services Committee, to talk about the impactful contributions of our public health department. Commissioner Reinert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Making communities safe and healthy is public health's top priority, and the COVID-19 pandemic has further underscored that mission. The work of public health staff during this time has been complicated, stressful, and emotional, but they've risen to the challenge and have provided our community with an array of essential services. Some of our public health work has included partnering with other county departments and community organizations to set up quarantine locations for those who didn't have a safe place to isolate following the COVID-19 exposure and diagnosis, providing supplies, transportation, and other guidance and resources to those affected by COVID-19, maintaining a website with vital Anoka County COVID-19 statistics, offering infection control information to businesses, and they have played an integral role in the deployment of COVID-19 testing and vaccinations. The size and scope of the work performed by public health over the past 13 months has been immense. And in the midst of the most challenging public health crisis in our lifetime, it's most important than ever to celebrate our public health staff and to recognize the work that they do, both on the front lines and behind the scenes, has been essential in ensuring Anoka County's response to the COVID-19 pandemic has been robust. And it has been robust. And I would like to thank personally, to Cindy, Jerry, Jonelle, Hubbard, and the rest of the staff. I'm very impressed and proud of the work that they've done, and I want to do a special shout out to Jonelle, who's Division Manager for Public Health and Environmental Services, who is truly on the front line of making sure that those vaccines and the implementation and organization of them went well, and they are and have been and continue to do very well.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Reinert. Now, Cindy CESARE, Human Services Division Manager, and Jonelle Hubbard, Director of Anoka County Public Health and Environmental Services, will talk some more about how public health has navigated the challenges this past year. Cindy.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Cindy CESARE, and I'm the Human Service Division Manager. I just want to thank all of you for your appreciation for public health, and more importantly, just for your support that I think we've all felt in our division in relation to the work that we've been doing. I just can't tell you how proud I am of the Public Health Department and the work that they have been doing over the last year. They've been the frontline workers for emergency response, and most of them have been working 24/7, just, keeping everything, afloat and keeping the plan in place and moving forward. They have risked their own health to make sure that our citizens are safe. They've also worked with a multitude of different groups in our community. They've worked with our emergency responders to make sure that they were active and could respond during the past year. They've worked with our schools to make sure that they had safe plans in place for kids to return. They've worked so closely with our businesses to make sure that they were successful and our economy was continuing in the right direction. And just really important, of course, our citizens. We, in human services, we go into this profession because we have a greater calling to help people. And, I can't think of a greater personal sacrifice or a more honorable profession than public health. I think in years to come, their work will be written in history. And just, they will have this mark and of their significant contribution that they've made in our society. So I just want to have Jonelle Hubbard, who is the Director of Public Health and Environmental Services, come up just to say a few words, and we also have some staff. Some of her leaders are here today. So thank you very much again.
Very good. Thank you, Cindy. Jonelle, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Wow. You never know when I need to write something down, right? My name is Jonelle Hubbard, and I'm the Director of Public Health and Environmental Services. And on behalf of myself and the entire department, I just want to thank you for this recognition. The statement, it takes all of us, most resonates and describes our COVID-19 response. While leading the COVID response, it's been public health's responsibility to also maintain its mission, to educate, prevent, regulate, and advocate for our community and our county. And that commitment has been shown by all of the staff in my department. There's been constant shifting of work, and they have done it just with great ease, with great commitment, and very little complaining or negativity with that. And it's just unbelievable how that's all gone. It's been an honor to lead this response here at Anoka County. And this has been a response where the duration of this response has just surpassed all other, right? We've never trained for this type of response. And the duration and the intensity has definitely been very significant, which also signifies the extreme dedication and commitment my staff have shown. The members of our department operations team have been instrumental to this response in an ever-changing environment with extreme challenges. And so you're right in the fact, Cindy, that it has been 24/7, whether we're working or we're strategizing in our heads where we're heading next and how we're going to get there with the resources that we have. There are, though, however, 4 individuals that have served as our subject matter experts and have been true servant leaders throughout this entire response. Each of them have shown undescribable commitment and assurance that here in Anoka County we are responding appropriately and based on MDH guidance, and I need to recognize them today. So if you'll just please stand, Lori Browald is our department's public health manager, and during this response, she's been my deputy incident commander and has been just a great partner for me in leading the response. Susan Perkins is our department's disease prevention and control and emergency preparedness supervisor. And in this response, she's operated as our operations chief in this response. And her subject matter expert knowledge on disease prevention and control and every detail you ever want to know, call Susan, because she's got it. Christine Lambrecht is our department emergency preparedness coordinator and serves as command and general staff advisor for this response. So when I need a detail to be filled, I call her because she is highly detailed and is very critical for this. And LaTreasure Dixon, she's our emergency preparedness specialist and also command and general staff advisor. LaTreasure probably had about a week under her belt when we started this response. And so orientation has been pretty long for her. So just a great asset to our team. I also like to do a call out to Terry Stoltzman, our emergency manager director, and his entire team for their willingness to be flexible, to stop what they're doing and assist us when we need assistance to allow us our operations to run smoothly. There are a lot of people I could sit here and thank, and I sure don't have all day. But lastly, I'd like to thank you guys for entrusting us, for being confident in our skills and our knowledge. And you've shown us that you do that by your actions, right? So actions and words need to match, and you sure have done that for us, and that's greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Janelle, and thanks to your whole team. You know, just over a year ago, I think most of us could not even imagine the impacts of this newly emerged virus. COVID-19 has changed our lives, and it has shown us that the work of public health personnel is essential when it comes to mitigating the spread of contagious diseases. We are thankful to all of our public health employees for their dedication and sacrifices during the pandemic. Before we end our recognition, I'm going to ask if any fellow commissioners would like to share a few comments about our public health department. Start with Commissioner Meisner and then Commissioner Brasted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you so much, Janelle, for sharing some of the specifics. I cannot say enough accolades. I mean, starting back with some of our CARES Act dollars, because of Janelle's foresight, we purchased one of these subcoolers, one of the few counties in the state to do that. And the logistics of rolling this vaccine out just blows my mind, and it changes every single day. I also want to make a note that obviously COVID-19 has been on the forefront for the last year, but our public health department is also having to do their regular work on top of this. So again, just the dedication and commitment to this has been remarkable. And then too, I just have to say personally, I've had a couple of discussions with Janelle who has really helped me to educate the public about what does this look like. I mean, people are, they've got a lot of questions. Some of them are very worried. And so she has been instrumental for me to help communicate to the residents of my community of how to best serve them. And then lastly, I just wanted to end on a very good note because I know you guys have a lot of, stress and just worry all the time with your everyday work. But there's been a few times now, most notably one of my chamber committees, that I've talked about public health, and there were multiple people that gave specific compliments to Anoka County public health staff. So even though the systems are frustrating and complicated for the public, they all, there's like 5 people that jumped in and said, I had such a positive experience with, again, the public health staff on the phone and both in clinics. So I did want to make sure that you guys knew that your work is being recognized, even though you might not be getting those affirmations every day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Meisner. Commissioner Breasted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's been a tough year. It really has. And under the leadership that we have in human services and specifically public health, the work that this department has done is truly second to none. And I am just so thankful for your commitment and your dedication. Like Commissioner Meisner says, we hear from other community partners. And when they ask, who can I get a hold of to answer this question? I left a message at the state and I'm not hearing back from someone. So they're looking for a local connection. And every single time I've provided a name and a number from one of our staff, those people contact me and say, thank you so much. I got all my questions answered. They were so polite, they were so courteous. Please thank them again for me. So you guys are being noticed, and people are very grateful for your service. And we're not over this yet. So, thank you for your dedication and commitment. And truly, you guys are second to none.
Thank you, Commissioner Breasted. Commissioner Gamache.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When Janelle said that it was hard to plan for the things that came up during this year, and we didn't train for these types of things, you don't show it because it appeared to look like it got set up so quick and it seems so flawless. The operation at the Bunker Hills Archery Center was just smooth. Everybody was very organized. The people coming in to get their shots, no one was upset or angry or anything. That everybody just ran the operation so smoothly. It looked like you guys have been planning this for years. And I realized that's not the case. So the work that you did was so professional from everybody involved. I just want to thank you so much for all the efforts and all the hours of work that you put in. And it was very impressive. And like Commissioner Meisner and Commissioner Breasted said, we've heard from people, emails we've received saying thank you for the work that they did when they went and got their shot. And they were just impressed as we are. And I'm just impressed by the fact that it was done so seemingly so easily by you guys. You guys made it look real easy, but I know it wasn't. But thank you very much for the hard work that you put in. And like Commissioner Breasted said, we're not quite out of the weeds yet, but we're getting closer. So I really appreciate everything that you've done.
Thank you, Commissioner Gamache. I'll just wrap up by saying that you can imagine in this position, we hear the good and the bad. But I've been floored. I've not heard a bad thing about our public health department. People haven't called in to say, hey, you're doing it all wrong. They really haven't. They've been in support. They know what you've been up against. And they've been supportive. And the calls that I've gotten have all been very positive, as both Commissioner Meisner and Commissioner Breasted pointed out. I've received a number of calls, and it was always to the point of patting me on the back for having done something I didn't do. You did it. So it's my turn to pass that pat on the back on. But more importantly, I want to mention, people mention, get a job in government. It's easy. You got a 9 to 5 and you're home and you're with your family and you got weekends and get a government job. Wow. This couldn't be anything more opposite than that. Nights and weekends and extended hours and overtime, and not that you wanted it. You wanted to be home with your family during this time to comfort them and to be comfortable yourself, but instead you did put yourself out there. You put yourself on the line for our citizens. So thank you. Thank you for not making this a 9 to 5 job and actually going above and beyond. and making sure that public health is not just a word, it's not just a catchphrase, it's a lifestyle. And you have chosen to live that example. It means a lot to me, it means a lot to this entire board and to all your residents and constituents of the county. So thank you again. It really is a heartfelt moment today where we have a chance to thank you. And knowing that your job's not done, looking in the audience and seeing everybody masked up and socially distanced reminds us we're not ready yet. We're not ready to get back together elbow to elbow and cough in each other's faces. Hopefully we never do that again. As evidenced by the number of influenza infections this year, it seems like we're on the right track with some of the stuff we're doing. So thank you again. And I hope the rest of this pandemic can go as smooth as the first did for us in Anoka County. For our second item under Chair's remarks today, we're recognizing our Emergency Communications Department as part of National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, which this year is April 11th through the 17th. I'm going to ask Commissioner Brasted to tell us about the essential work of our dispatchers. Commissioner Brasted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. During National Telecommunicators Week, we celebrate the outstanding job done by the staff at Anoka County Emergency Communications. Anoka County Emergency Communication consists of dispatchers, supervisors, management, and the radio shop. This group keeps the citizens and first responders of Anoka County safe. 2020 proved to be a difficult year for the staff. In March, COVID-19 hit Minnesota, and emergency communications had to change the way it did business, from social distancing to incorporating COVID-19 medical questions in the line of questioning for dispatchers. Staff made changes weekly and daily as they worked through the pandemic. As soon as COVID-19 protocols had been established, civil unrest hit the Minneapolis metro area. Anoka County dispatchers took calls they never thought they would take, calls they should have never had to listen to, including numerous threats and verbal abuse from callers. This was truly an extremely difficult time for our staff, and call load increased dramatically. In 2020, Anoka County dispatchers fielded 390,485 calls, which is an average of about 1,100 calls per day. The radio shop updated its radio aliases and added channels to its consoles. National Telecommunications Week allows us to thank those individuals who are in a normally thankless job. While everyone remembers the police officer, deputy, or firefighter who arrived to help them, most people forget the 911 dispatcher, who is the true first responder. Anoka County Emergency Communications employs dedicated, hardworking, and compassionate individuals who show up every day to a difficult but necessary job. It is said that only 2% of the population can be capable dispatchers, and Anoka County has some of the best. We have Val Sprincenatic in the audience with some of her staff representing our 911 call center, and we are so grateful for them. We thank them and we celebrate them this week. At this time, I'd like to put forth Resolution 2021-41, proclaiming April 11th through 17th National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week and recognition of Central Communication staff, and ask my fellow commissioners to join in support.
There is a resolution before us. Is there any further comment? Seeing no further comments, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? That resolution has been adopted. Commissioner Brasted.
Mr. Chair, we've just recognized two very important critical groups in our county, and I just would like to give them a round of applause, both groups. Is anyone with me?
Again, thank you to all of our staff in emergency communications. Your jobs, even during less stressful times, are demanding. The expert dispatch services you've provided throughout the pandemic has been essential for keeping our community members and emergency responders safe. Now, for our last item, I'm going to take a moment to remind everyone that this week is also Severe Weather Awareness Week. This week is designed to refresh, remind, and educate everyone about the seasonal threats from severe weather and how to avoid them. It's also a great time to make and practice emergency plans and to build or refresh emergency preparedness kits. With the weather transitioning from frigid to temperate and then to hot, maybe not everybody thinks about the dangers that can accompany this seasonal change. But it's important to be mindful of the possibility of tornadoes, dozens of which touch down nearly every year in our state, and other severe weather events. I encourage everyone to be safe at this time of year and to check out the many preparedness resources that can be found by visiting the Minnesota Department of Public Safety's website, dps.mn.gov, and searching Severe Weather Awareness Week 2021. We also have a link to that page on our homepage, anokacounty.us. And as a reminder, for our live viewers, Thursday, there will be 2 statewide tornado drills with outdoor warning sirens sounding. The first drill at 1:45 p.m. is intended for businesses and institutions, and the evening drill at 6:45 p.m. is for families. Use this opportunity to plan family members what to do if an actual tornado warning had sounded. Now, on to committee reports, beginning with the Management Committee. Commissioner Brasted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The committee met on March 23rd, and we have a couple items. The first 2 are under our License and Passport Service Center. We're looking to restructure and fill, effective April 13th, 2020, vacancy due to a promotion. We're going to take a 2.6 FTE Service Center Specialist positions and convert that to a 1.0 FTE Service Center Specialist.
For the record, that is April 13th, 2021.
Yes,
Just so it's documented correctly, and we will look for a motion to approve.
so moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Brasted. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Meisner. Is there further discussion? Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, just a quick question, because I want to say that in this area, we are moving towards, full-time positions, just period, because it just works out best for everyone.
Yes, it's been brought to our attention as a management committee and as a county board that the part-time employees within this department struggle with family care at home and, whether they can get to work or not. And we've determined that a more career-focused employee in this department is probably better for us on a long-term basis. So that is a plan we're working towards to get more full-time employees, and then again, perhaps a broadband in there as well.
Perfect. And I'm sorry, just a follow-up question.
Commissioner
So
Meisner.
for this range with the changeover to a full-time, is it the same as what we were paying for the part-time, or is it a little bit more?
According to the write-up here, it appears like the pay is the exact same amount of pay, but you'll notice we're reducing because there's 2.6s, so that's 1.2.
Right.
And we're reducing that to a 1.0. So it's really 1 full-time instead of 2 part-time. But I imagine, and without having ER come forward or without having the administrator come in, I think we could say it's probably going to be maybe a little more because there'll be benefits involved as opposed to part-time.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brasted.
Aye.
That item passes.
And the next item is pretty much exactly the same. We're taking a 0.6 FTE Service Center Specialist and another 0.6 FTE Service Center Specialist, converting that to a 1.0 FTE. And I'm happy to move that one.
There is a motion before us. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Reinert. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye. And that item passes.
That concludes my regular committee agenda, but I do have one, or actually two additional agenda items that I'll move on to. The next one is a very similar situation. We're taking a 0.6 FTE service center specialist and 2.2 FTE service center specialist, converting that into a 1.0 FTE service center specialist.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Meisner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Brassad. Is there further discussion? Excuse me. Commissioner Brassad.
Mr. Chair, we're making these moves, like you had mentioned, to try to bring some stability to our license centers. We know that there is some complications going on there now with COVID and the precautions and some frustrations with citizens. So we think making this more of a career step, a full-time benefit earning situation will get more commitment from employees, and our goal is to be able to, have these centers running smoothly. And, we really appreciate the staff that are there. It's been a tough time. As we hear from different departments, things haven't been easy, but I think this is a really good step in the right direction.
Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Gamache.
Just a quick question, and I'm not sure. It seems like we're moving away a little bit from part-time, which I can understand from what Commissioner Brassad just mentioned. We're not eliminating part-time, but we're still having some part-time staff to fill in positions like that. I was just kind of curious how much change this is and what we're looking at for the future, perhaps.
I think we'll turn to the administrator to attempt to answer that question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the County Board, Commissioner Gamache. One of the things that we have struggled with really is having stability with the part-time staff as outlined. And so we will continue to move in this direction of making them full-time staff in combining those positions, and really will slowly, through attrition, look at eliminating those part-time positions.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
That item passes.
And the last item is to recommend approval of Resolution 2021-M3, a resolution approving the tentative agreement between the County of Anoka and Law Enforcement Labor Services, Inc., representing the Sheriff's Office licensed deputies for the calendar year 2021. And I'll offer that resolution.
The resolution has been offered and is before us. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
That item passes.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Brassad. We will now move on to the Transportation Committee report. We did have an opportunity to meet on April 5th, Monday, at the Bunker Hills Activity Center, and we came away with 3 action items for you today. First, the committee recommends approval of a resolution supporting a funding application to the Minnesota Department of Transportation for a Section 5310 Transit Coordination Assistance Project, or TCAP, grant to study transportation services for enhanced mobility of seniors and individuals with disabilities. Is there an offer of the resolution?
I'll offer it.
The resolution has been offered by Commissioner Gamache. Is there further discussion? We have discussed this a number of times at the committee level, and I believe once at the board level. So I don't know that we need to go into any other explanation here unless somebody requires one or would like one. Seeing no takers, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? That item passes. In our Highway Division, our first item is the committee recommends approval of a resolution authorizing the county engineer to negotiate the terms of the city's purchase of county property identified and legally described in Exhibit A, subject to any final agreement and request for conveyance of county property to be presented to the Transportation Committee and the County Board for final approval. I think before we even offer this resolution, we'll turn to Joe so we understand it a little bit better.
Sure.
Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, members of the board. My name is Joe McPherson. I'm the Transportation Division Manager and County Engineer. So the item before you today is regarding a large development that's actually moving into the city of Ramsey that the city's been working on. On the screen before you, you'll see a red circle. Just to the west of that, on the south side of US Highway 10, 169, there's a large 250 plus unit development that's moving in there. What they'd like to do is to try and facilitate safer access off of Highway 10 and 169. They'd like the development to utilize the Armstrong Boulevard interchange. It's obviously it's safer than what exists there today. Bowers Drive to the west is an at-grade intersection with no stoplight, really no mechanism to control traffic. So there's a gap on the Riverdale Drive frontage road along the south side of US Highway 10. And what they need to do is extend that frontage road through county-owned parcels to that area, to that large development. To do that, the middle parcel that you see on the screen, which is just below the red circle, that was actually purchased using Met Council RELF funds, which is right-of-way acquisition loan funds. And so those are funds that if there's a property that's for sale and you have an upcoming transportation improvement project, you can utilize that loan program to purchase the property ahead of time so that something doesn't move in there and develop and then you have a costly relocation or acquisition of a business or residence. So those funds were used at that time, back in the early 2000s. Now they'd like to use a portion of that property for the right-of-way for this roadway extension. So what we'd like to do is work with the city on this. We'll work with Met Council. There is an avenue that we can utilize to actually just sell off a portion of that RELF-funded parcel to the city so that they can facilitate the construction of this frontage road. So essentially this action item is to allow me to work with the city of Ramsey to come up with a process and work with Met Council to come to terms on what that looks like.
Thank you, Joe. Is there an offer of the resolution?
I'll offer it.
The resolution has been offered by Commissioner Look. Is there further discussion or questions? Commissioner Gamache.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Joe, just to clarify for sure, I just want to make absolutely sure on this, that they're looking to do some building out towards, I guess it would be to the northwest along 10. And Riverdale Drive will be the access point. So there's no plans in works for any further accesses being added to Highway 10.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Gamache, that's correct. So just off the screen, Bowers Drive is an at-grade intersection. It's an uncontrolled intersection just to the west of the screen. That will remain in place because there's an existing development and this road will tie into that. Okay. But this frontage road will give them access. There'll be no additional access on Highway 10.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
What does cloud this a little bit is that these parcels were originally purchased for the Northwest River crossing that would come from Dayton over to Highway 10, the new bridge, proposed new bridge. And it's been talked about for many years. The conversation has started again. Commissioner Look and I have sat in on a couple of meetings now where they're weighing the possibility of building that bridge again, which does question where it would align, where it would land in Anoka County on this side of the river and where it would tie into Highway 10. And that's part of the conversation. So they've determined it wouldn't go here.
Okay.
So that's why we're moving along with this project. But again, you'll see on the overhead there, you see the solar panel array, the solar farm or garden, whichever one that one's called. Certainly that is our land as well that is currently leased to Connexus for that renewable energy resource. But that never precluded us from eventually having a bridge landing here because we could move those solar panels and terminate that lease as needed. This, however, does begin to change that conversation as we put a service road through and a 250 unit development starts to build, now we start to talk about how do we land that bridge on this side of the river. But those conversations will be had. I think Commissioner Look and I are both on the same page that you don't completely stop and shut down development of a city or portions of a city for a proposed bridge that's been in the making for 40-plus years and maybe another 30 years before we see it happen. Commissioner Look.
Mr. Chair, just for clarification, I'm looking at Riverdale Drive here, and if you were to extend that across, it looks like it would probably take, or most of its footprint would be on the Ralph property. I think the discussion was that they're just gonna be trimming the southwestern portion of this parcel, which would impact us. Just want to clarify that.
Yep, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Look, good question. So it's the parcel that's circled in red is actually a non-Ralph parcel. However, in I guess you'd call it the southwest corner, we'd take a little clip off that corner of that parcel. And then a majority of the right-of-way that they're looking for is the next parcel to the south. And they would take maybe 30 to 40% of that parcel is what they're looking for right-of-way.
Mr. Chair, my concern, of course, is that county-owned highway frontage is high value, and with the Riverdale Drive going through there would make it access a lot more valuable. So hopefully this would be something we could market and sell eventually for the development of some sort, commercial perhaps. I believe it's probably ag right now, zoned ag perhaps. I know that they were farming that, but whatever the case may be, it's certainly something of value we want to protect. So as long as it's just a little trim, that's fine, but just want to verify.
Thank you, Commissioner Look. Further discussion?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, and I just wanted to loop back to what you were talking about, the bridge. But what has been determined is that the bridge is not going to be in this area. So any further discussion, it's going to be elsewhere.
I cannot say that that has been determined.
Oh, okay. I thought.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Meiser, so good question. Where we're at right now with that river crossing study is they're still looking at where it should land, where the bridge should go, and what that looks like. Also, how it ties into 94 or 169 on the south side of the river. So we're really early in that process. It's originally when they looked at this, this was one option where that bridge could land. This was even before, the property was purchased before Armstrong interchange was put in. So there was an opportunity that Armstrong may have been realigned to tie into that property, and there may have been a different direction on how that road came in. Ultimately, we chose the footprint that you see before you for Armstrong. But even if this roadway goes in, if in the future they decided they needed another interchange at that location, having the service road there would not preclude that. So I think we're still in a good spot. It's highly likely that it won't go there, as the board chair and Commissioner Look had mentioned, but we're in good shape with this.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do have a resolution before us. Commissioner Look.
Mr. Chair, to the point of Ralph dollars and future property acquisitions, Joe, do you know what the status is on that fund? Is there, I thought it was pretty healthy. There should be, certainly after Highway 10 is concluded here.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Look, yeah, so there are funds still available in that program. It's still available to us if there's another project that comes up, so yes, there are still funds available.
So, Mr. Chair, just kind of looking at the orientation at Armstrong as it sits today and the studies that are going to be done, I would doubt that they would not come off of Armstrong and somehow utilize the farmland to the south. That would probably need to be acquired at some point, and maybe that's a future discussion here for possible Ralph acquisition dollars.
Thank you for that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the resolution's before us, and this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
Commissioner Brastad.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Excuse me. Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
That item passes. And then lastly, on our Transportation Committee agenda, the committee recommends award of a contract in the amount of $8,695,980.41 to Park Construction Company for the countywide overlay program in the cities of Andover, Anoka, Blaine, Columbus, East Bethel, Ham Lake, Oak Grove, St. Francis, Spring Lake Park, Now Then, and Linwood Township. Is there a motion to approve the contract?
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Brastad. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Reinert. Is there further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert. Commissioner Look.
Aye.
And that item passes. That does conclude the Transportation Committee report, and we will move on now to the Intergovernmental and Community Relations Committee report, and we'll turn to Commissioner Brassad.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The committee met on April 1st, and we have one action item, and that is the committee recommends the county board approve the medical examiner's office apply for and accept, if awarded, a Federal Emergency Management Agency nonprofit security grant. The medical examiner's office would utilize these funds to improve overall security to that facility.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Meisner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gamache. Is there further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
And that item passes.
And that concludes my IG report.
Thank you, Commissioner Brassad. Next, let's move on to the Parks Committee report and turn to Commissioner Gamache.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Parks Committee held a meeting on Tuesday, April 6th at the Bunker Hills Activity Center. We have 3 action items today. The committee recommended to the county board to amend the 2021 Parks Capital Improvement Budget, increasing it by $500,000 to reflect the additional direct appropriation amount to Anoka County for the design of the Rice Creek North Regional Trail in Circle Pines, Minnesota. This additional money that's coming from Met Council, or is it in the bonding bill? Trying to remember.
Direct, Mr. Chair, members of the board, my name is Jeff Perry, Park Director for Anoka County. It's a direct bond, state bond appropriation.
That's right. And this was led up by the legislature and the representatives in the area that worked on this to try to get this money to us so that we could finish this portion of the trail. This is a portion of the trail that goes through some wetlands, so it is going to be expensive. But State Representative Runbeck led the way in the House to get this passed, and we appreciate the efforts. But we have to add it into our budget for the improvement, for the capital improvement budget, to show that we're going to have this money coming in to do this work. And that leads into our second action item, but this is the first action item, and we have this before us now. So,
Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
A motion by Commissioner Reinert. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gamache. Further discussion? Commissioner Reinert.
I guess I'd just like to comment that this segment has been desired for decades and does connect miles and miles of trail and has been a missing link just because of the expense and the difficulty, that topography of what it needs to cover. And so this is a good start. It will take a lot more dollars to complete, but this was the first piece that's needed to get that ball rolling. So very much glad to see this happen.
Very good. Any further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
That item passes.
The next item, Mr. Chair, is the committee recommends the county board to approve resolution 2021-PRK09, approving the Rice Creek North Regional Trail design and engineering project and authorizing the execution of the $500,000 grant agreement for the trail design and engineering when it becomes available. This is the next plan. We have already, the Parks Committee already had looked at some ideas as to how we were going to do the different options that we might have to design this, but we realize obviously that that needs to have a lot of work done to look into all the different options, mainly because of the amount of wetland that's in that area. We're talking boardwalks, these different types of things. So there are a couple different options that we looked at, but with this portion of it, with the design and engineering portion of it, we'll have a better idea as we move forward. And Jeff is here. He gave us any quick updates. This is the big part of it. We have some of the money to spend to do this now. so we can move forward. And I know that he's got some plans with his team to begin the process. But Jeff, you wanted to give us a quick update on some of the issues that we know are going to be out there regarding this trail?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This trail gap is approximately 1 mile in length, and it's between Golden Lake Elementary and Baldwin City Park. So it's a very, as Commissioner Reinhardt had indicated, it's a very critical missing gap in the trail, because essentially from Lexington and County Road J, you can take this trail minus this gap all the way up to the YMCA in Lino Lakes and the main proper, the Rice Creek Chain of Lakes Park Reserve. So it's a very exciting project. We're very encouraged that Representative Linda Runbeck led the charge on this project. And we very much look forward to bringing it through the public process, garnering feedback from the public on which route is the most desired. We have received quite a bit of feedback to date, and we've kind of narrowed it down to 2 options, option C and D on the map here. And there'll be 2 creek crossings and a significant amount of boardwalk. So we'll let the design process bear out the costs, and then we will bring it to the next phase of funding through the Metropolitan Council. And it's estimated at this point in time that the cost of the project will be between $3 and $4 million to construct. But step 1 is to vet it through the design and engineering phase, and we stand ready to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Commissioner Meisner.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. And so most of this project will be funded by grants, correct? Right?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Meisner, that is correct. 100% will be financed through either state bonds and or Met Council bonds. Yeah.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Is there an offer of the resolution?
I'd like to offer this resolution.
The resolution has been offered by Commissioner Meisner. Is there any further discussion? Or excuse me, Commissioner Reiner. Is there any further discussion? That's one problem when you're looking at 2 names in front of you. Seeing no other discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye. I think Attorney Palumbo is just lucky I haven't called his name yet. Next item.
Item number 3 is a master plan amendment for Riverfront Regional Park. This is down in Fridley off the river and off of Mississippi, off of the East River Road. And what it is that we need to, last year the city of Minneapolis approached the county with a request to purchase 3 small county-owned parcels along the Mississippi River Regional Trail in Fridley. The Waterworks facility is looking to remodel and expand their facility. So these 3 parcels of interest are a bit on the southwest side of the park, or of the area that we have. And for some reason, and it goes back for decades, that the county had purchased these 3 pieces of property. And what the Waterworks, our city of Minneapolis, is suggesting is that they would propose that they replace the land that they want down on the south side with some land on the north side that abuts our park. So we thought that's not a bad idea, because now we have actual land that ties up into our park. And we don't use the other 3 pieces. As you look down on the map, it's on the little yellow boxes down towards the bottom of the map. I think we use them for a place for people to stop along the trail to see a map, maybe take a little break for a second or so, but we're not really using it, and they've got a purpose for it. So we're going to put this before, we have to change the master plan boundary, and we have to get the approval of the Metropolitan Council at the same time. One of the questions that came up during, and in this area of northeast area, kind of off northeast Minneapolis, there's a lot of industry that went on for decades in that area. And one of my concerns is that I didn't want to see us taking on some property that may have some questionable groundwater and issues like that. And our staff has looked at it. They've kind of charted it out, and I'll let Jeff kind of explain some of the work they've done there as we move forward on this, but I'm feeling much more comfortable now than when we first looked at it. Jeff.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. So we had about a year's long of communication with the city of Minneapolis on this parcel, primarily regarding the history of the land use. And so we went back to 1938, did a thorough review of all the aerial photos of the area. And based on their input on land use, they've essentially used it for storage, equipment storage, vehicle storage primarily. And we have no reason to believe that there's any contamination. However, we still do reserve the right to have them do some testing if we so choose to go that direction. So at least at the initial staff level, we don't have any reason to believe that there's any contamination on this particular piece of property. It's a very small piece. It's about 1/3 of an acre. It is directly adjacent to the southern end of Riverfront Regional Park. So it'll be a nice extension to the south end of Riverfront, as opposed the property that is being proposed to be conveyed is further south. It's halfway between the south end of the park and 37th Avenue. So it makes good sense to extend the main regional park boundary to the south. We'll restore it to prairie, negotiate that in with the agreement to have the city of Minneapolis pick up the cost of that restoration as well. So at the end of the day, there'll be no impact to the regional trail itself, to the public use of the regional trail. And we'll essentially swap 0.33 acres from where it's currently located and make it adjacent to the regional park itself.
Very good. Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Commissioner Gamache, for bringing up the whole contamination aspect, because, I mean, I know you already know this, but Fridley is they have one of the most amounts of Superfund sites. And then I guess I'm just gonna kind of play devil's advocate. So even though that this particular property was used for storage, and not that I'm an expert in this, but I do know that, right, plumes can be weird sometimes, and I don't know how much it costs to do soil testing, but if we're ultimately responsible for any remedial things, I know the cost of that can be quite expensive. So I'm just kind of throwing that out there. I don't know what's around that area, and again, in terms of historically what was used for ground, but I do know that plumes can travel and end up in places that you don't necessarily expect.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Meisner. I actually agree with you that it sounds to me like the city of Minneapolis would be willing to do that testing.
Correct.
At their expense, and I suggest that we probably ask them to do that. There are plumes known to have come from the other side of East River Road, under East River Road towards the river. This parcel is right there. So I do have some concerns long-term, and having a clean bill of health when we do this transfer. I mean, frankly, this looks like a 10-minute property switch, sign some papers and it's done, but when you're with the Metropolitan Council and other things, this takes a lot longer, and I don't see any reason to rush through it. And I think having Minneapolis assuring us that that parcel is clean and that we're not going to be on the hook for $1 million Superfund cleanup a year from now is probably a good plan. Commissioner Gamache, then Commissioner Meisner.
Yeah, and I would agree in some of the things that Jeff brought up at our committee meeting regarding some of the actions by the Navy, because they had a lot of property just to what would be northeast of there a little bit that did have some issues over the decades. And I know that there's a lot of things on record that we have, and you can maybe elaborate a little bit on that as well. But that started to make me feel a little bit better that that while there's always the possibility that something is continuing to move and those types of things that are going on, as someone who had to deal with that type of or different types of pollution in Andover when I was mayor, didn't want to take on something else that was possibly there. This is such a small percent, that's not even an acre of land, 0.33 acres, so it's relatively small, and there could be stuff around all over the place, so it's questionable whether or not we would find it right away, but I do think we should go through whatever testing possibilities that are out there that we could have Minneapolis take a look at for us.
Thank you. Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, so I do want to, I guess, officially go on record that I agree with you and making the request as well. So then I guess my question is, does that change the course of this resolution that we're looking at? I assume it would,
I
or,
don't believe so, because we're asking to adjust a master plan boundary. So I think we can do
Okay.
that.
so it's not anything like official in terms of the actual exchange. Got it, perfect, thank you.
Correct.
Very good. We've been talking about this long enough, I don't recall, has this resolution been offered?
No, I don't have an
Is
offer.
there an offer of the resolution?
I offered the resolution.
Thank you, Commissioner Meisner. The resolution is now before us. Is there further discussion?
Did anybody want Jeff to update on a little bit of the background of what he had talked about at the committee meeting? I'm not sure. I mean, we're talking about having Minneapolis look into this, so I think we're on the right track, but if that's available, if anybody's
What
interested.
are the wishes of the board? I'm fine. I trust my Parks Committee that they delve into this deeply and understand it and bring recommendations to us.
Okay.
And I relish the opportunity now to give feedback, but I don't think I need any more information, but I will acquiesce to any commissioner who thinks they want to hear more. Commissioner
Thank you,
Meisner.
Mr. Chair. No, I will just follow up with you in private. Okay, thank you.
Very good. The resolution is before us, and seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Then that item passes.
And the remaining items, I believe, were all informational. One of the discussions that we did have that I did want to bring before the board this morning was we reviewed and provided comment on the Bunker Beach Water Park reopening of the public swimming pool and the aquatics facility with our COVID-19 preparation plan that is in place. It's opened for changes as the discussions have gone on, but the main idea is that we would be opening up June 5th, June 6th.
June 6th.
June 6th, and that we'd be opening with 2 sessions a day, one beginning at our normal start time, and then that would run until, I believe, 3 o'clock, and then we'd be having the second start time with an hour to clean in between, and that would run to our normal stop time of 7 p.m., which is what we normally have for our hours. What we've determined, and I'm going to give it to Jeff so he make sure I have the numbers right, exactly how many people we were planning to start with, and how we were going to do some of the operations.
Certainly. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so per session, the session 1 will be 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. and maximum attendance capacity will be 550 for that session. We'll close it down at 3 o'clock, fully sanitize everything, reopen at 4, do a twilight 4 to 7 with an additional 550. So the total capacity, daily capacity will be 1,100 patrons or guests. That does not include staff, which is a good thing. Our normal capacity at Bunker Beach under normal conditions is 2,500. So it's a significantly less capacity, but that's based on the current executive order. That could change. We're hoping that as time rolls on, we'll be able to loosen things up, increase capacities depending upon how the pandemic unfolds. In addition, we are doing cabana rentals as well, so we'll have 2 different sessions for that. We are doing a Bunker Beach punch card. We aren't doing seasonal passes just due to the current conditions, which are subject to change, and if they do, we can open up the seasonal passes again. But there'll be a punch card. We're also doing cardio club for members of the public that are interested in cardio club. We'll be doing that at a reduced capacity. Normally, we have 160 people in for cardio club. That'll be reduced down to 130, where we can effectively social distance for cardio club. And then there's a couple small tweaks in terms of the features. The climbing walls will be off limits at this point in time because of the touch points. We have a water walk facility that'll be closed down temporarily as well until we get back to normal. But we feel we have a very comprehensive, safe plan for the public. We're standing ready to open the new wave pool feature to the public and the rest of the water park. And based on the current executive order, we're confident that our plan will serve many tens of thousands of people this summer. So thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. And you may have seen the pictures of the pool getting filled, checking for leaks. And from what we understand, there's no leaks, so that's always good. As someone that one time owned a pool of their own, if you had a leak, you're in trouble, that's for sure. So I'm glad that that wasn't leaking. But we're really excited, and the team did a great job putting this together to go through all of the different things that they had to look into. So I really appreciate their efforts to get a plan set up. And again, this plan could change between now and June. So we expect that we'll probably see some of that, and they'll bring it through the Parks Committee as we talk about it and let everybody know where we're going. That concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Gamache. Next on our agenda is the Public Safety Committee Chair Report, and for that, we'll turn to Commissioner Brasted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we didn't meet, and I just have one chair's report, and would recommend the county board adopt Resolution 2021-PS03, resolution approving State of Minnesota joint powers agreements with the County of Anoka on behalf of the county attorney to provide the county with state systems and tools for which it has eligibility. And I'm happy to offer the resolution.
The resolution has been offered and is before us. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brastad,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
And that item passes.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you. That gets us back on our regular agenda on item 9, where we'll consider approving the following relating to appropriations for the 2021 Memorial Day observances. Item A is appropriating pursuant to Minnesota statute, section 375.35, $200 to each post of a recognized military service persons organization or society organized and existing in the county, holding charter from Congress or incorporated in the state for defraying the expenses of Memorial Day exercises, which submits a written request to county administration by December 31st of 2021. I think we'll take all three of these together. Item B is reimbursing pursuant to Minnesota statute, section 375.34, expenses up to $200 to any military service persons organization or society holding charter from Congress or incorporated in this state, which exists outside the county, but holds Memorial Day services in the county, not to exceed a total reimbursement of $1,000, and which submits a statement in writing by December 31st of 2021, detailing the expenses incurred in such services. And then lastly, appropriating pursuant to Minnesota statute, section 375.34, up to $2,500 to the Anoka County Veterans Council to aid in the observance of Memorial Day. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Gamache. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Reinert. Further discussion? Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a question about then B. So in that situation, it would just be what? An organization that, let's say, is in Hennepin County, but they hold a service in Anoka County?
I think that would be
The
accurate.
office. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Chair, if I can, I am Vice Chair of the Anoka County Veterans Council, and they certainly appreciate all the efforts that the county board has undertaken through the years to support them in their observance of Memorial Day. It will be held, I think, on the 29th this year, both at, I think it's Sunset Gardens in Coon Rapids and at Bunker Hills, and they will be speakers for both, and the public certainly is invited to attend.
Well, thank you, Attorney Palumbo, and thank you for his service on the Veterans Council. Any further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brastad,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
That item passes. With nothing else to come before the county board, sorry, Commissioner Meisner?
The curfew happening last night, any updates that we get going forward in the next couple of days, the public can look on our website for the most up-to-date. Okay. I just wanted to put that out there because I know that's obviously a lot of questions right now for residents in Anoka County.
Yeah, and it may be a good time to remind the public of the unfortunate incident in Brooklyn Center, which has triggered some social unrest and required the governor to impose a curfew on some metro counties. This was not a decision the county made. It wasn't a decision the sheriff made. This was a decision the governor made, and we are subject to it. Anoka County has gone to great lengths to make sure the public knew about it. We had an emergency reminder that went out. We've fielded way too many phone calls at 911 regarding this. Obviously, 911's there for a reason, and we answer those calls no matter when they come in and no matter what they're for. But you have a tendency to overwhelm our system if you call with non-emergency questions about this particular curfew. We don't know if there'll be a curfew again tonight. That is still up in the air. The governor's office has not made that determination. Anoka County will not be implementing a curfew by Anoka County, but there may still be one that comes down from a higher level of government that we are forced to live with under. Thank you for that reminder, Commissioner Meisner. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you.